Hi, I'm Ryan CRC. On January 6, 2021, Donald Trump held a rally where he encouraged his supporters to march down to the Capitol building and stop Congress from counting the electoral votes so it would not confirm Joe Biden as the rightful president. Donald claims they had the constitutional right to protest the government because widespread voter fraud and election tampering stole the presidency from him. He depicts himself and his cult of followers as patriots who were fighting political corruption. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth. The presidency was not stolen from him. Joe Biden won the presidential race fair and square. That means when Trump told his followers to rebel against the government so he could stay in power, he was committing the federal crime of inciting insurrection. He was not lawfully protesting. In this video, I'll present 5 reasons why we know Donald Trump's conspiracy theory was all a big lie. Number 1. The idea that the election was stolen from Trump was a conspiracy theory that he concocted himself. He had no good reason to believe the race was rigged. It's not like he was presented with any evidence of voter fraud and then he decided to investigate possible wrongdoing. Even before the election took place, Donald Trump set a lie into motion that mail-in ballots would lead to widespread voter fraud and rigged election against them. That was a completely unfounded accusation because they're processed pretty much the same way as absentee ballots, which Trump and his family trusted because they voted through absentee ballots themselves. Besides, mail-in ballots would not necessarily favor Biden over Trump in any statistically significant manner. Trump accused the race of being rigged even before he lost. By casting doubt on the election process from the very beginning, he laid the groundwork for his big lie. Number 2. During a speech in August, several months before the presidential election, Donald Trump flat out told the people of Wisconsin that the only way he could lose the election is if it were rigged, and the only way Democrats could win is if they cheated. What makes this lie even more outrageous is that it already seemed like a foregone conclusion that Trump was going to lose the presidency in November. He had already lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton because the majority of Americans did not want him in office to begin with. As president, he became one of the most hated people in America. Political historians had already deemed him one of the worst presidents in American history. He never had an approval rating above 49%. His incompetence and immorality were far worse than any of us had feared. His term was mired in scandal, and he had already been impeached once. He was an international laughingstock. His response to the COVID-19 pandemic was disastrous. Plus, he was already losing to Biden in the polls. Yet Donald Trump actually said, with a straight face mind you, that he could not lose unless Democrats rigged the election against him. This is common behavior amongst grandiose narcissists like Trump. They can't stand to lose. They would rather play the victim of some nefarious plot than accept the fact that they were beaten. They lie to themselves and others to protect their fragile little egos. One thing is for certain. Every indication showed Donald Trump was going to lose the 2020 presidential race. There was no reason to believe that he could win re-election. So for him to claim that he could only lose if the presidential race were rigged against him is almost as ridiculous as when he claimed the sound of windmills causes cancer, or when he suggested that scientists should try injecting people's lungs with disinfectant to try to kill the coronavirus. Number 3. Donald Trump has a long history of crying foul when he loses a race. He claimed the Emmys were rigged against him because he never won for his television show, The Apprentice. He accused Ted Cruz of committing fraud and stealing the Iowa caucuses from him. When the polls showed him losing to Hillary Clinton in the first presidential race, Donald Trump said the election was fraudulent. After she won the popular vote, he then claimed millions of people had voted for her illegally and he had actually beaten Hillary by a landslide. Donald continued this pattern of making baseless accusations in 2020. Just as he had done with other elections, Trump alleged the 2020 presidential race was rigged against him, even though he had no reason or evidence to support his claim. His history of crying wolf, and the fact that he's a pathological liar in general, makes it hard to believe his wild allegations about stolen elections. Number 4. When we look back to July of 2020, several months before voting began, Donald Trump told Chris Wallace in an interview that he may not accept the result of the election if he were to lose. He told Chris Wallace, "I'll have to see what happens." This suggests that Trump already planned to revolt if the election didn't go his way. He never had any intention of honoring the will of the American people if that meant giving up his power. So of course, when Trump lost the presidency, he continued to run with the big lie that he had started during the race. After he lost, Donald Trump and his sycophants attempted to scrounge up any evidence they could to support his wild accusations of voter fraud and election tampering, but to no avail. Last but not least, number 5. Donald Trump could not provide a shred of evidence to support his allegations of widespread voter fraud and election tampering. Every argument he made was debunked. Some were misrepresentations of the facts. Others were bald-faced lies that he just completely made up. And some claims were so stupid, it seemed like Donald Trump didn't even know how the election process worked. This is not my opinion. Donald Trump filed nearly 60 lawsuits in support of his cause. But he lost every single case, in large part because they lacked merit. Some of the lawsuits were thrown out by judges that Trump had appointed himself. How can you lose 60 cases because you can't provide credible evidence to support your argument, and then still claim that you're telling the truth? Clearly, Donald Trump did not lose the 2020 presidential election because it was fraudulent. He has a bad habit of saying races are stolen from him when he loses, and yet offering no proof that he was actually robbed. So it would be incredibly naive to believe that Donald Trump was telling the truth this time. In other words, Trump lied about the election being rigged against him, so he had no just cause to protest. He incited insurrection on January 6th because Trump wanted to subvert the American government and undermine our democracy so he could hold on to his presidential power. In my next video, I'll give a few examples of the ridiculous arguments that Trump made during his January 6th rally when trying to prove the election was rigged. Of course, all they really show is that he's ignorant of the voting process and a liar. I'm Ryan CRC. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos, and follow me on social media such as Facebook and Instagram if you'd like to see similar content. Until next time, take care.